Hi, so I want to give you some training on this rubric database now that you've played with it a little bit and understand it better. Have a little bit of background on it. And just to remind you, this rubric database is what you're going to be needing to use to hand in your various phases of your final project. Okay, so I'm going to first go ahead and I'm going to open this up, and you should get an error when the first time that you open it up. And so I'm going to go ahead and show you that error. So open the database up, and it's not exactly fast because I'm far away from school. Okay, so here I get a stop all macros error. And so I can click on Stop All Macros, and then I'll close this main menu. And then what I can do is I can just enable the content. And then it'll ask you if you want to make this a trusted document. You can just say yes so that you don't get that message again. And then there you are. And you've gotten through the error part. And this stop all macros is just, that's my bird clock in the background. There. No, it's going to be over in a second. Anyway, the stop all macros you'll get with any database that you open and that you haven't opened before. And it's kind of a security feature to help you or to protect you from having some random database run malicious software inside of the database. So that's what that's about. Anyway, so now it's prompting you for a tutorial, and it says, hi, before we begin this tutorial, please click the student information button at the bottom of the screen and complete the indicated information. Okay, and then after entering this information, click on the next button. Now the thing that I want to draw your attention to is you can unclick this, and then that way the next time that you open it, it won't run the tutorial anymore. Okay. So you can click here to enter student information, and I've already typed some information in here. And so then you can just say, okay. And if you want to continue with the tutorial, then you can just say next. Okay, and I've tried to make these screens smaller. I've also tried to make the font smaller. I'm not sure. You may complain about it still. We'll see. But, you know, you can still read it at least, right? Okay. So anyway, here it says throughout the semester you'll design a database, also known as a final project. You will begin by creating tables, followed by forms, reports, and a user interface. For each one of these phases, you'll turn in your final project along with this rubric database. So, and if you want to know more about the final project, you can click here. And I did try to make this smaller, but it grew wider as a result. But hopefully you can see it on a laptop. Okay, you can give me feedback about that. All right, so then I click on close, and then I can keep going. And so the purpose of this database is to provide you with a rubric for your final project. Okay, and so then this database lists various requirements referred to as rubric points. And then and the rubric points allow you to see what's required, and then you can indicate how you feel you've met the requirement, and give any comments that you want. And then I'll give you feedback about what I think based on based on what I see. Okay, and so then you'll need to respond to the rubric points in this database according to what development phase you're in on your final project. So there's 4 development phases. There's the table phase, and then there is a forms phase, and then you'll do reports, and then finally your final, that's it, you're done, final project. So the tables part will coincide with the supplemental activity, build your tables -draft, and then from there there'll be forms, and I can't remember what I called that one, but basically it's a supplemental activity that I'll draw up some sort of document or something that will tell you that you need to turn in your either your forms or your reports or whatever, and that'll be a supplemental activity. Okay, and so then each time I'll give you feedback. And from there, the next screen, and so the different phases, according to the different phases, you'll find the rubric points from the main menu. Okay, and then from the main menu, you'll go to the screen, and you'll find the rubric points on the screen, and you'll scroll down and you can put in your information. But before you do that, you want to load your final project, and I'm just making myself a note. You want to load your final project right here, and then after you load it, you'll need to press Shift F9 on there. And I'll make a note to make sure that it shows up on the screen that you need to do that, or else give you a prompt just so you know that you need to do that after you've loaded them. Okay, and so then here's where you can enter your data. Okay, and this talks about you can enter, so when you first start filling this out, you will be entering information about the draft, and then when you go back and you're going to hand in your final project, then you'll put in the final, that it's final, and give yourself a rating and give yourself any information or notes that you want. Okay. And here the when due. So some supplemental or some rubric points you'll only be required to do for your final, for the final version, and some you'll need to do for both the supplemental activity. So, for example, you might have to do it for the tables, and then you would do it again. You would evaluate yourself again at the very end for the final project. So it depends on what phase you're in. But to start, you'll use draft, of course. But anyway, so moving on. Okay, and don't forget you can enter comments just to communicate. All right, and if you want to go to, when you're ready to after you're done responding here, then you can click on the next record to go to the next rubric point and respond to that. Okay? And don't get confused. These are real buttons. These are screenshots. That's a little confusing, isn't it? Okay. So now we can exit the tutorial, and I'm just gonna go over a few more things here. Well, I've gone over the student information. You need to enter it. We've gone over the tutorial. I want to show you this rubrics, all rubrics points report. Now it says here, if you do not enter anything, all categories will be displayed. Okay, so let's do that first. Okay, so here everything is displayed. Okay, so and you can also you can print it, and you can get a PDF format. I've added that in. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and close again and bring up the main menu, and I'm going to run it again, but this one time I'm going to pick like table structure. Okay, and then I'll click on preview, and then it only shows for table structure. And that might be helpful to you when you're first starting, that you only see, you know, a subset, not everything. It might overwhelm you. So, okay. All right. So that kind of goes over all rubrics, or rubric points report. Here, to start, I'll go over the table structure. So this is where you want to enter data. But before you do, you're going to need to load in your database, your final project. So we're going to click here to load the objects. And it says you will need to provide a file name and path for your database in the next prompt in order to load the object names. So you say OK. And I'm going to go and find a database that I want to use. So I'll come here and I will go here. And let's see. Let's use this one. And so I'll say, well, no, actually, let's go up here and use this one. Okay. So I'll say OK. All right. And so now you can see there's a circle going. It says the list of objects have been imported. So you say OK. All right. And then from there, what you're going to do is you're going to click in here and say Shift F9. Okay. And then you will have your database loaded. So you can see here, it's loaded. Okay, but we'll get to that in a moment. But you do need to do that. So I thought I would address that first. Okay. Anyway, so going back up to respond to this particular rubric point, it says you should have at least 3 main tables. Okay, so you should have 3 main tables. And then you come here, it says this is the grade percentage, and it says when is it due, and it says final, so it's due for the final project, build your own tables, draft, supplemental activity. So, and then, and the completed version, or the final project, the final version. So that it's due twice. It's due for the supplemental activity, which is called the final project build your tables draft, and then at the end of the semester for your completed version. Okay. So to start, though, you're going to be doing a draft. Okay, and you can give yourself a rating. I gave you 10. I mean, I'm assuming you'll give yourself a 10. Hopefully you'll have at least 3 main tables by the time you come to fill this out. I really, really hope. And then you can give yourself, or you can indicate anything you want right here about this rubric point. Now this right here, you see, it only is here if there's more information to fill out down below. Okay, so you can come down here and see that what needs to be filled out is showing. Now, in this case, it says 3 main tables. So all it's asking for here are the 3 main tables. So I'm going to pick 3 main tables. 1. And notice that there's a star here and it looks like another record, but that's not a second record. This is just the way Access works. When you've added a record, it'll look like it's adding a second record, but it's not. This is just saying that another record can be added. So I'm going to put in another table. I'll just pick one. And then another table, houses. So anyway, and so, you know, this is just an example of 3 main tables that I've chosen. Okay. And so anyway, I have completed that particular rubric point. I've done everything I needed to do, so I can go to the next record. Now with the next record, it says all fields should have descriptions in the table design view. And it says build your project, build your tables, draft, supplemental activity, and completed version. So you'll need to have you'll need to do this for the draft, fill this out for the draft, and you'll need to fill it out for the final version or the completed version. Okay. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that just to give you an example. Okay. And you can say I've done it all. So I want to point out something to you here is that you notice that red arrow isn't here, and the reason is because there's nothing more to fill out on this particular supplemental activity. And then if you go, and you can go to the next record, and then there it is again. And so you can fill this out. And let's see, this one says at least 5 fields have a default setting. So we'll come here again, draft, you did great. And then we'll come down here. Okay, so it says at least 5 fields have a default setting. So you're going to say in which table has the default settings. You don't have to have them all in the same table, defaults all in the same table, but you have to have 5 fields, and so you're going to indicate what table the field is in, each field is in. So maybe book name, and then you might have houses, you know, whichever, like this. Okay, so you just enter 5 different records. That's all. Okay, and I'll do stores just for another example. Cost. Okay, and that's all. Basically all you need to do for that. And then you just go on to the next record. Okay. So I've demonstrated how to do the data entry for this form. Okay. I've shown you how to load your final project. And the only thing else that I've got here, I mean, you know, you can click on the previous record or the next record. The only thing left here is really is for you to be able to preview the rubric points for just this category, being table structure. And so this just shows you the rubric points for just this particular category. Okay, so I'll click on close, and there we are back here, and then we can click on close again. Now when you're doing your tables for the first supplemental activity, you'll do both table structure and table relationships. And then from then on, the next supplemental activity you'll do forms, and the next one after that you'll do reports. And then for your final portion of your completed version, you'll also do the essay and the user interface. Okay, so each time you enter your data into here, and then you submit in the Dropbox both the your rubric database and either your supplemental activity, which would be either for tables, forms, reports, or else it would be your final version of your final project. And so you're going to always submit at least 2 things in the Dropbox. And the other thing that I want to tell you is that for now, I'm going to say that you will use the database that I put into the I submit back to you in the Dropbox, and you'll use that again. So what I mean by that, let me just go here, and I'll go here to Dropboxes. Now you'll have, let's see, you have, like, for example, the final project build your tables draft. Okay, let me go and be a student. Okay, here we go. All right, so here, okay, and you're going to submit it, and then I'm going to have a response, and here is where you'll get your response in the form of the rubric database coming back to you, and that's the file that you want to use for the next version. Now if we run into problems, I'll let you know, and then I'll change that. But for now, you'll take that rubric database for the build your tables supplemental activity. You'll fill it out, you'll submit it with your first version, your tables version of your final project. I will open up your rubric database that you've submitted with the data in it. I'll respond to each rubric point, and then I will put it back and respond back in this Dropbox, and my response is what you want to use for the next time. And hopefully that's clear. And I think I'll write a document up about that too. Okay, anyway, so hopefully you understand about the rubric database, and always certainly send me an email if you run into problems. I tried to fix everything that everybody indicated, and I went through and tried to fix any extra errors. And though if you do run into problems, just let me know. Thanks very much.